Hi everyone. Every once in a while a very special product comes along which I feel as though I have to make a video about just to tell the world, and here it is. This is the multi-pack of ND filters by the company Telesin. I have the pack to fit my DJI Osmo Action 3 camera, but fear not, if you're a GoPro user, they also do the magnetic mounts to fit the GoPros. Okay, first things first, let's assume you might not know what ND filters are or why they're used, so allow me to explain. If you're watching this video on a phone or a tablet, it may be quite difficult to notice the difference in the sought-after motion blur, so try watching it on a full-size TV if you can, and ideally in 4K. Firstly, ND stands for neutral density, and the idea is to bring down your shutter speed, especially on bright sunny days. This allows you to have much more control over your image and create the correct amount of motion blur. If you're working with stills photography, for instance, and you want to capture a waterfall, then by using the correct ND filter, you can capture an image with motion blur like this. For me, my sport and my passion is motorcycling, so 99% of the time I capture video whilst motovlogging, so the correct shutter speed is absolutely crucial, otherwise the video just looks pixelated, jittery, and for want of a better word, video, as opposed to cinematic. To obtain the smoothest video, there is a golden rule often referred to as the 180-degree shutter rule, which in simple terms is double your frame rate. So if you're shooting in 25 frames, then a shutter speed of 50 will provide the best looking and the smoothest footage. If you're shooting in 60 frames per second, then a shutter speed of 120 is required, and so on. This equation gives the correct amount of motion blur, and what I mean by that is this. This shows a perfect motion blur. It might mean little to you as a freeze frame, but trust me, this is exactly where cinematic footage begins. This is the framework for standout cinematography. This is the same footage but shot in auto without any ND, therefore the camera increases the shutter speed to adjust the exposure, since action cameras have a fixed aperture. You can see how pixelated and jittery the footage is, and to be honest, it just looks awful. Here is a still shot to show you pretty much zero motion blur is happening here, and comparing it to the footage with an ND filter, when using video, this motion blur is always sought after in the world of TV and film and makes for a much more cinematic experience for the viewer. If you ride motorcycles like me and make videos of your ride, then this set of ND filters is crucial, since we are riding at speed past very close objects like trees and walls, so we really need to smooth that footage out. So let me show you these filters in depth. The pack I have comprises a CPL, which is a polarizing filter, and 3 different ND filters of variable strength. An ND8, an ND16 and an ND32. You would use these different strengths depending on how bright your filming location is and by how much you would like to reduce your shutter speed, keeping in mind the golden rule that I mentioned earlier. The CPL filter is a polarizing filter which does a couple of things. Its main job is to minimize reflections on surfaces like glass windows and also water, so if your hobby involves water sports, then this filter works a treat, as this image shows. The next thing it does is enhances the contrast within your image, like this comparison here. This is the image without the CPL filter, and here is the same shot with the filter on. Massive difference. The great thing about this is that it has no ND on it, so on a duller day you can still use it to enhance your footage without affecting your shutter speed at all. Now let me demo how these fit over the existing clear filter which comes with the camera. So they have a silicone ring inside the filter, which means it's a very, very tight and snug fit, so much so it's difficult to even twist the filter around when it's in. So even when I'm riding at speed on a motorbike, there's no fear of it sort of coming off in the wind. Quite often, an indicator to cheaper filters using cheaper glass is a slight colour shift, and these filters don't have any of that, which is superb. Even on ultra-wide settings, no edges of the filter frame peeps into shot. That's another giveaway. Like any filter and any camera, there's quite a bit of trial and error until you understand how all of this works and until you find exactly what you need. In all of these tests, I have my camera set to 4K in 60 frames per second, so therefore my shutter speed is double that at 120. I set my ISO at a range of 100 to 3200, and I use a manual white balance at 5600 Kelvin, which is the standard daylight setting. Easy enough to put all of these into your camera settings. If you use an ND32 or even a 64 on a day where there's not enough sunshine, then you will notice noise within the picture creeping in as your ISO automatically increases. I find an island that the ND8 and the occasional ND16 on a really bright sunny day covers me for just about everything. The other thing to bear in mind with the DJI Osmo Action 3 is that your rock-steady stabilization will be affected and will not work well if you use too heavy an ND filter when it's not required, i.e. on a duller day. If you use the right filter on a sunny day, then your rock-steady stabilization will work perfectly. So there you have it, correct motion blur, all in one box and all for €38. An absolute bargain if you ask me. If you're serious about getting the best looking footage from your action camera, then you really do need these. These will transport your footage from Hollyoaks to Hollywood, and all at a fraction of the cost of its competitors. The difference really is night and day. Thanks a million for watching. I'm Dave Perry and you've been watching Really Good TV. Please like and subscribe, and of course links to purchase below.